now we move on to the story about the Glaneuse, which was a French ship that was coming out on quite a large voyage. It was supposed to travel to Melbourne, Launceston, Hobart, Sydney, then on to New Zealand. However, it didn't get past Melbourne.
It didn't get past Melbourne. It didn't even get to Melbourne.
No.
Did it? And it was quite a large vessel. It was a bark, and it was 502 tonnes, and there were, I think, 14 crew on board. But the cargo is most interesting, so you might tell us what the cargo was.
It did. It had a cargo of brandy, wine, sardines and general goods on board, and it arrived at the Heads on the Friday evening to calm conditions, Saturday the 2nd of October.
That's right. And the Glaneuse captain felt that he had signalled for a pilot to be put on board, but the pilots had not seen the signal, and the signals that they had sent to the Glaneuse, which was one of a fairly large number of vessels which were to come in through the Heads at about the same time. And since when the pilots signalled to the Glaneuse and received no answering signal, they concluded that the master of the ship, the captain of the Glaneuse, was among the captains who were exempt from having a pilot. That occurs, I can put this in, that occurs nowadays. While most vessels that come in through Port Phillip Heads or go out are required to have a pilot, there are certain captains who have obtained an exemption certificate because they do it fairly often, and they don't require a pilot, such as generally the Spirit of Tasmania. The captain of that doesn't require a pilot. So that there was this misunderstanding, and so that the Glaneuse decided that it would come in during the night. Instead of standing a long way off until daylight, the French captain apparently sailing just offshore between Point Lonsdale and Barwon Heads. And then, of course, it says here that the ship was seen to be heading for the breaking reef in an attempt to go round, but in common with so many other ships which have been wrecked along the coast here, it was unable to make the manoeuvre, and the captain ordered the starboard anchor to be dropped, and but the Glaneuse drifted stern first onto the reef, borne in by the southwesterly, which wasn't very strong at the time. But so the crew, feeling that they were quite safe, were not in a hurry to get off. The lifeboat was sent from Queenscliff, not the lifeboat that we have today, but one of the rowing lifeboats was sent out. So it was the lifeboat crew rowed the lifeboat out through the Heads and tried to get alongside the Glaneuse to take the crew off, but they were unable to do that. But so the rescue of the crew of the Glaneuse was performed by rocket line from the beach, which means that a line-firing rocket gun, such as we have in the Maritime Museum, was carried to the beach, together with all the large boxes of rope required. A rocket would have been fired from that gun over the vessel, and the line went with it. And then the crew of the vessel could set up the apparatus used for the breeches buoy to the pulleys on their masts, and so the people were rescued by breeches buoy. But I do like the description here, the crew and the ship's cat. The ship's cat obviously liked wine. Even the pigs that were on the ship drank wine on their way to Australia, because of course the water stored in their barrels would have gone very bad in the tropics, and so that's the first time I've ever heard of ship's cat and the ship pigs drinking wine on a voyage. But when the wind changed, the vessel became embedded in the sand about 100 metres from the lighthouse, and we have a large crowd of spectators who went to see the show, and once the cargo was salvaged, the police were there to make sure that people didn't steal it.
Now, Mary, it says about the Lonsdale light was shut off. Is that talking about the lighthouse?
Not the lighthouse as we know it today, which wasn't built until 1802, but there were earlier structures out there. And when they say shut off, I'm not exactly certain.
It says shut off from observation. Maybe it was obscured.
Maybe obscured.
Because
yes.
Glaneuse, the reef was named Glaneuse Reef afterwards, so perhaps
afterwards, yes.
There
just the angle or the height of the vessel and the maybe something between the ship and the light that was showing at the time. Now, after this wreck, there was, of course, another Marine Board of Inquiry, and the circumstances of the ship's master and the pilot service being at odds over what had happened led to a change in a recommendation that a third pilot ship, I think, be employed, purchase of a third pilot vessel, and so.
And they did actually sell the Glaneuse while it was underwater.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yes, that's right. That's.
So it was actually sold at auction for £305,
yeah.
but it was still on the bottom of the
sea.
reef.
So someone must have felt that the £305 would be a good investment because of what they would be able to salvage from the vessel, because it wasn't only cargo that was salvaged from vessels. If you bought the salvage rights, you had the right to everything, which meant that you could take off, you could virtually dismantle it if you couldn't refloat it. You could fittings and so forth, which being made of metal can be sold as scrap metal, and so that's what often things were done by salvage companies. And I think that's about all.
Yes.
Yes, that's about the
Thank
lot
you,
about
Mary.
Glaneuse, and it's nice that the street is named after it.
Yes.